This is the Kay and Burton Report.
Hello and welcome, I'm Tracy Atkins, on location this edition from 3 Tivoli Place, South Yarra, which is one of a number of new listings garnering extraordinary attention right now as we move into something of a two-speed real estate market in Melbourne. On one hand, we have a feast of buyers, and yet on the other, something of a famine of property. Kay and Burton's agents reporting receiving calls and emails virtually around the clock from buyers here and offshore with plenty of money to spend, but almost nothing to spend it on. It seems like there's about only one thing on the mind of Kay and Burton agents right now.
The thirst for the market is there. What we don't have is the property.
So I think that, the stock is not meeting the demand.
There's certainly, as I say, buying demand there, and I think there'll be competition for good quality houses.
In fact, competition there already is. Take, for instance, 2 Glenverby Road, Toorak. When we met Gerald Delaney there for this interview, he'd popped it quietly onto the Kay and Burton website a few hours prior in what was supposed to be a soft launch. By the time we arrived, he'd had several parties through already, all of them spying it almost the moment it hit the net.
Absolutely, it's immediately captured people's imagination, and the inquiry rate for it has been quite outstanding.
People are finding things very quickly as soon as it hits the net, and obviously from our database, as soon as we're spreading the word.
A lot of buyer activity. Buyer activity is not only local but from overseas, and I can tell you 50% of our sales are coming from our overseas database, and it's been very strong.
We have a global audience that is watching our website, that are reading the newspapers, and they're wanting to know what is available.
Needless to say, when there is a quality new listing that comes on, agents are wasting no time in spreading the word.
This is a new listing that Gowan and I have just signed up this morning actually, at 20 Church Street in Toorak. It's 10,000 square feet of prime Toorak land.
A good, solid Victorian home that's been renovated with a beautiful back garden here with a magnificent pool in the heart of Toorak.
We've just launched 4 Chasselman Avenue in Toorak. It's an amazing property. It really is beautifully built.
You've got the magnificent architecture of Marcus Martin, who's one of our most highly regarded architects for the Toorak area. You combine that with David Hicks and his interior work, and there's no explanation needed about David. And then you add Jack Merlot to this magnificent outdoor garden area, and it speaks for itself. We've
got another property coming up at St George Road, number 66, so watch out for that one.
Also coming on in Toorak, Managing Director Michael Gibson's campaign for the outstanding 56 Albany Road, and attention is being garnered for the lovely Gabby Hubay designed 3 at 20 Grange Road. 46 Stewart Street, Armidale is a copybook example of the much-desired family homes that are probably top of the shopping list right now. And over in Hawthorn, we put the drone up to show off the views that can be achieved by going ahead with the approved development at 44 Studley Avenue, and this is a very exciting one. Lots happening down in Brighton too, the headline probably being for St Ninian's Court, which is very much rolled gold real estate and being kept company very nicely by 57 Cole Street and 15 Stewart Street, Brighton. And in nearby Sandringham, the HIA House of the Year has just come on at 21 Pellow Street. And in St Kilda East, this architecturally significant home from Ernest Fooke is garnering itself plenty of good attention. And word out of the Flinders office is to keep the eyes open over the coming weeks for some great property. We've received first details of the very appealing 260 Punchpole Road, with another to follow soon in the Rockstar Bluff Avenue environs. Meantime, for those owners that are still thinking about whether or not to sell, Kay and Burton's agents have some very sage advice from the coalface.
Now's the time to go because the market's ready. The gardens in these beautiful backyards in Toorak are starting to change. Buds are on the trees. These gardens are going to pop in the next few weeks, so now is the time to go.
I would be saying don't think at all. It's an absolute perfect time to be selling, and there's no time like the present.
The Kay and Burton Report, proudly partnering with NAB Business Banking. To subscribe, go to kburtonreport.com.
With a renowned Marcus Martin as its architect and in more recent times David Hicks applying his genius to the interiors, it's not unreasonable to imagine the attention at 2 Glenverby Road, Toorak would focus firmly on the indoors only. But step across the threshold of this wonderfully substantial 5-bedroom home and it becomes evident that this is very rare real estate, as much for what lies outside as in.
The proportions of the house, the balance of the house, the positioning on the land, the utilisation of the land to its maximum with the outdoor space. It is a perfectly balanced house. Jack Merlo here has done an absolutely outstanding job.
Jack Merlo himself says this garden remains one of his undisputed favourites, the expansive land and timeless Marcus Martin home, providing him the near-perfect canvas with which to work.
It has been fantastic on this project, having the luxury of space, and we're able to do a lot with it. I worked collaboratively with David Hicks, who did the interiors, and the client's brief was always to create something resort-like. It's very much a tranquil space and a house where I think you could feel very secluded and private and really enjoy the outdoor areas. There's a lot of water, obviously, with the minute you walk in the front gate, there's the water features either side of the entry steps. And then obviously the rear garden is dominated by the large pool with the overflow edge. I do love doing pools and making them interesting, so not just your conventional pool. It depends on the context and the space that we're dealing with, but here we had quite a big open area, and also the gradient of the block meant it was inclining towards the rear, so we're able to work with the levels on site and do this overflow edge and that pavilion, if you like, at the end of the garden. That's quite a sort of dramatic feature, and it kind of gives you an extended vista. When you walk in the front door, you look straight through the backyard, across the pool and lawn to the pavilion in the distance.
It is beautifully presented. One of our prizes at the moment, I suggest.
A dream location, a genius of design and an emerging development dream team. Now that's not a bad lineup behind what will undoubtedly be one of the most admired homes of the season at 3 Tivoli Place, South Yarra. The home belongs to the Lumiere development team of Greg Adsheed and Sud Agarwal. They've got a few pretty sharp projects on the go at the moment to keep watch for across Toorak, East Melbourne and South Yarra. Given its smashing location, the property-savvy pair couldn't resist snapping it up as what was planned to be a home for Greg, giving consummate designer David Hicks the brief to create a jaw-dropping home for Greg to live in, and he most definitely did. Even director Ross Savas, who's seen more than his fair share of top-drawer makeovers, deeply impressed.
I mean, David Hicks, he's done a wonderful job. I mean, he's certainly an international interior designer, and he brings an international flavour to this. Just walking through it, you know, some of the fittings are European appliances.
Meantime, you might notice a bit of design genius at play at 11 Spring Street, Prahran as well. After all, the owner is Amy Hicks, who also owns the uber-chic interiors and homewares brand Cavan & Castle. Amy and her husband Damien and their 2 children have lived here for the past 2 years, and Amy's spent her time putting her deft touch to what is a smashing renovation and presentation program indoors and out. It's a great location too, right next door to Hawkesbury Village. This house ticks a lot of boxes and good interest is expected. And then one we absolutely love, not just because it looks amazing, but it also has a great story behind it. In fact, hop onto the media section of this report for the Wall Street Journal's recent story on the house. It makes for a fascinating read. The Boyd Baker House in Long Forest, about 35 miles out of Melbourne, is a perfect example of the 1960s modernist design by the highly acclaimed architect Robin Boyd. who was commissioned to build an Australian-style family home by English academic Dr. Michael Baker, hence the name. The result was pure genius and remains as relevant and appealing today as it was upon completion in 1966. Lawyers Peter and Mary Matrakis have owned it for the past 8 years. They're selling it along with the adjacent title, which contains 2 further smashing homes called the Dower House and the Library. All 3 will go to auction August 31.